Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video with Ricky the RBT. In today's video, I want to talk about what would be the best setting for a new RBT to go into when they're starting their new job, their first time working as an RBT. Now, someone asked me this question a few months ago in my DMs on Instagram, and they asked me what would be the best setting for them to go into, or someone else asked me about just the different settings in general, and I've been asked multiple times about the different settings, and so I want to make this video to talk about the different settings, the different setting options, the pros and cons of the different settings. And before I end this video, I'll talk about what my preference is, what my preferred setting was when I was a technician. So let's jump into it. So here in front of me, I have my notes. So if you do see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes. I took a lot of notes for this video because it is such a dense topic to talk about. It's definitely not surface level to talk about which setting would be a good setting for you to start in, because again, it's all based on preference, and it's all based on how much support you may want or how much support you may need. So it's a very dense topic. I did a lot of research for it. And so hopefully the notes that I took are very helpful in you making a decision on which setting you want to start off in. So first we'll start off with the clinic setting. And so here on the screen, I have sort of like a definition for what the clinic setting entails. And so I won't read off the definition per se. I'll let you guys read that. But the clinic setting is a very structured setting. And you have ages ranging from about 2 to about 10 years old. Sometimes you have teenagers in those settings as well. But it's a very structured environment. BCBAs are in the building for the most part. You have other technicians in the building with you for the most part. But again, very, very, very structured environment. It's where we're able to work on a lot of those. We're able to work on those skill acquisition programs. We're able to work on those behaviors for the behaviors that we're targeting for reduction. We're able to work on a lot of discrete trials. We're also able to work on the naturalistic teaching. We're able to work on shaping, chaining, task analyses, so on. And that's not to say that we can't do those things in the other settings, but in the clinic setting, we have more control over the environment, and we're able to modify the environment to best fit our needs and to best fit how we want to work on the programs with our clients. So now let's talk about some pros for the clinic setting. For the clinic setting, first pro is you have your BCBAs that are readily available in the clinic. And when I say that, you will have 2 or 3 BCBAs that are going to be there in the building throughout the day. And I can't say for every clinic they'll have a closing BCBA, because clinics are different. But it's best practice for there to be a BCBA in there in the evening times, so you have someone there to support you guys if there is behaviors that reach a point where you can't control it on your own, and you have a BCBA that can come in to provide that assistance. But outside of that, BCBAs are readily available in the building. Your BCBA that's leading the case for your client is going to be in the building. So any questions that you do have, you're able to go to them, and you're able to pick their brain about certain things that you may be seeing, pick their brains about some of the terminology that they may be using as they write down how to run the different programs that you're going to implement in the session, But yeah, the BCBAs are available. So I look at that as a pro for the clinic setting, because the BCBAs are available for you to ask questions. Next pro is you have those adult interactions. And so this will kind of come into play when I talk about the home setting, but in the clinic setting, you have the opportunity to interact with adults. So when I was doing a lot of research and I was asking other technicians like what their preferences were and why their preference for that particular location was what it was because, or when they talk about the clinic setting, they would talk about the opportunity to talk to another adult. And that doesn't take up the entire session, right? It's not, we're just sitting here talking and our clients are off to the side. We have the opportunity to have just quick banter with another adult before we turn our attention back to our client. More in the home setting, which I'll go into more detail, but more in the home setting, yes, you have another adult there, and that'll be the parent, but the parents are typically doing something for the home until we bring them in for training. But for the most part in the home, it's you and the client. But in the clinic, you have multiple adults in the building. You share rooms with other adults. Going outside as a collective, just being able to talk to another adult, it does help throughout the day. I will say that when I was a technician, having those quick conversations with another adult after you've been sounding like Mickey Mouse for the past hour and a half, it is helpful. So you do have, so that is another pro for the clinic setting, is you have those adult interactions. In the clinic setting, backup is available. So in the event that, again, those targeted behaviors, they reach a certain point where you can't handle it on your own, you have the opportunity to ask someone for assistance, someone that is also trained in the same safety management. They receive the same safety management training that you received. And so you're able to reach out to someone for that assistance to have backup when targeted behaviors reach a point where you can't handle it on your own. Another pro for the clinic setting is that resources are readily available. So whatever you need as far as toys, whatever you need as far as like arts and crafts, so on and so forth, it should be available for you in the clinic. That's not to say the clinic is going to have everything under the sun. It's not going to have everything that your client may need, but for the most part, it has a good amount of resources that you have full access to. You can go grab and you can bring back with your client, and you guys can interact with those things together. So yes, it's another pro for the clinic setting, is that resources are readily available in the clinic. Another pro for the clinic setting is a very structured and controlled environment. And so everyone in the clinic knows that we're working on certain skills. We're working on building on skills. We're working on generalizing skills. We're working on maintaining skills. And so with everyone having that same mentality, everyone kind of conducts themselves in a certain way where we're not working to trigger another client, or we try to minimize the volume on tablets. If our client is on a break, we can minimize the volume, just so in the event that we're sharing a room, the next client may be easily distracted. And so making sure that we're working together and we're not working against each other. And so if I need to turn down the volume on what my kid is watching, just so your kid can stay focused, then I'll do that. Modifying the environment in whatever way we need to. So if we need to remove our clients just so another client can enter the room without engaging in targeted behaviors, or whatever needs to happen, we can all communicate and make sure that we modify the environment to where we set all the clients up for success. Creating learning opportunities with our clients, creating social opportunities with our clients. All those things are able to happen in the clinic setting. That's not to say that it's not able to happen in other settings, but in the clinic setting, it's a very controlled, very structured environment. We have schedules in place we may have a specific schedule for our client, or there's a specific schedule for the entire clinic. All of those things go into play when I say that the clinic setting is a controlled and a structured environment. So I look at that as a pro for the clinic setting, is that you have a very structured and controlled environment. Last one, I mentioned this a little bit, but social skills opportunities are abundant and they're available, right? Having common areas for the kids to play in, whether inside or outside, we create those social skills opportunities in this structured, in this controlled environment. And so we need to work on parallel play, if we need to work on independent play, if we need to work on taking turns, if we need to work on initiating interactions, so on and so forth, whatever we need to work on, we're able to work on it in this environment. That's not to say that we're not able to work on it in other environments, but it's definitely a pro in the clinic setting, because we're able to create and then take advantage of those learning opportunities in these controlled environments. So those are the pros for the clinic setting. Let's talk about some of the cons for the clinic setting. All right, so now let's talk about some cons of the clinic setting. And so with the cons that I found for the clinic setting, this is based on the research that I did online, but also I talked with the technicians that I work with on a daily basis. And the 3 cons that I have here were reiterated every single time, whether I was looking at stuff online or I was talking to technicians in person. And so the three cons are inconsistent hours, long sessions, and dealing with cancellations. So I'll go into detail about each one, and I'll talk a little bit from my perspective on why they are cons in the clinic setting. So the first one is inconsistent hours. And so what I mean by inconsistent hours is you may have 1 week where everything is going well, your clients are showing up, everyone's showing up on time, everyone's getting picked up on time, and then the next week, life is happening, right? And what I mean by life is happening is car troubles, family sick, kids are sick, whatever other life things happen, right? And these are all things that are out of your control. So you may have all of your hours in 1 week, and then the next week you have half of those hours, 30% of those hours, because life happens, right? And so so with the clinic setting and just being a technician in general, I would say sometimes you have to deal with those inconsistent hours. It does come with it doesn't necessarily come with the job, but it kind of does in a way, right? Because life happens, right? And so that is a con for the clinic setting. Is 1 week you may have all your hours, the next week you may not. For example, for me, I had a client that took up a majority of my hours when I was a technician, and what happened was his family started dealing with a lot of car troubles, like car troubles that it was like issues on top of issues, right? And so they were going back and forth to the mechanic, but they weren't able to get to the clinic, right? They did not have an extra car, so on and so forth. And so my hours went from whatever they were at that time, because I can't remember, whatever they were at that time to 10 or 15. But that's because that client took up I spent a majority of my time with that client. And so when they were dealing with that car trouble, I just kind of had to take it under the chin, right? It's not ideal, but I will say that is a con of as working in the clinics is you do have to deal with those inconsistent hours from time to time. Another con for the clinic setting is dealing with long sessions. And so sometimes you may be with a client for 4 or 5 hours, sometimes 6 hours. It really just depends on how long that client is scheduled in a day. But you may be the one person working with that client for 4 or 5 or 6 hours. And those sessions, they are long, they're daunting, they're tiring, they're mentally draining. It's a lot. And so that is a con for the clinic setting, is dealing with those long sessions. And then the last one is dealing with cancellation. So again, those inconsistent hours. Life happens, kids get sick, car troubles, doctor's appointments, whatever, things just happen. And so when there's a cancellation, you just have to deal with it unless there's another client readily available, or there's someone that the clinic can call in, or there's other tasks that you can complete. But if those things aren't available, then you just have to deal with the cancellation, and that's money out of your pocket. And it's definitely not ideal, but that is another con for the clinic setting, is dealing with those inconsistent hours, dealing with those cancellations. Now we'll talk about the home setting. So again, I have my definition here for the home setting, but for the home setting, it's a more relaxed environment. It's less structured. You're in the client's most preferred setting, their home, right? So there's a lot of natural learning opportunities. There's a lot of living skills that we're working on, a lot of adaptive skills that we're working on. There's still social opportunities if they have siblings, or if you guys do like community outings, like going to the park or walking around the neighborhood, whatever. There's still social opportunities there, but it's a much more relaxed environment when you go into the home setting. The parents are there. If they have siblings are there. If they have other family members that may be living at home, may be living in the home, and they're in the home as well. They're in the setting as well. But in comparison to the clinic setting, they're on two opposite ends of the spectrum. The clinic, structure, control. With the home setting, it's more relaxed and more natural. So some pros for the home setting. The first one is skill generalization, right? So whatever skills, if they did transition from the clinic to home sessions now, then now we can focus more on generalization of skills. But if they haven't transitioned, like if we haven't stopped clinic sessions to focus only on home sessions, and they're still going to the clinic, then whatever skills that they're acquiring in the clinic, we want them to generalize those skills. And so when we go into the home with them, or we're doing parent training with the parents, then we're able to focus on generalization of skills. And in the home setting, it's very rewarding. Its clinic setting is very rewarding as well. The home setting is very rewarding, where you're able to see your work move to a new location. And so being able to see the clients utilize a skill like communicating with multiple words, or labeling things, or following instructions, so on and so forth, in a new setting is very rewarding. And it's just a reminder of like how much work you're putting in to help them acquire the skills that they need. So in the home setting, I feel like a pro for the home setting is that skill generalization and helping them continue to utilize those skills that they may be lacking. Next pro is parent collaboration. So again, the parents are in the home, and so we're able to have the parents collaborate on what we're doing. We're able to show them exactly how we may be responding to certain things, how we may be going about using certain antecedent strategies to decrease the likelihood of certain behaviors, how we may be going about implementing specific task analyses, or working on routines, or transitioning from preferred activities to non-preferred activities. Like, we can show them how we're going about these things in the home setting, right? And this is their home. And so we're able to show them how we're utilizing the space, and how they can utilize the space as well to work on these skills, to work on whatever we need to work on. So again, parent collaboration, a huge pro in the home setting. Another pro for the home setting, you have access to your clients' most preferred items and most preferred activities. They're home, so if they just want to lay out on the couch, look at their tablet, that's what they want to do. But as technicians, we figure out ways to incorporate ourselves in that activity, and create learning opportunities within that activity, right? That's us being creative. That's us thinking on our feet. That's us navigating the space to kind of see where we fit in at. Next pro for the home setting is client comfortability. They're relaxed, they're happy, they're in their space, right? They're able to show you the toys that they may play with, or they're able to show you the activities that they engage in when they're home. And so they're comfortable. They're happy to be wherever they are. And so for us, again, adapting to the environment, and trying to figure out like where we fit in, so we can start working on whatever we need to work on. But that's a pro for the home setting, is that the client is very comfortable in that setting. Next pro is social skills and community outings. So there's a park in your neighborhood, or if you've been given a green light to go on community outings with your client, then you're able to work on social skills with them out in the community, going to the grocery store if we're seeing issues at grocery stores, going to parks if they may need more assistance with interacting with other kids when they're at the park, so on and so forth. Whatever the needs are, as long as we're given the green light to go on these community outings with our clients, then we're able to go out into the community with them and work on whatever we need to work on with them in the community. Another pro for the home setting is the sessions aren't as long as clinic sessions, right? So for the most part, you're not spending 5 or 6 hours in someone's home. You may spend like 2 or 3, right? Now, if that is different for you and you work in a home setting as an experienced technician, definitely let me know how long your sessions are in the home, if they're longer than 2 or 3 sessions. The technicians that I spoke to and some of the stuff I've seen online is that the sessions typically are about 2 or 3 hours. But if they're longer, definitely let me know down in the comments, and I want to have some dialogue about that. But yes, it's definitely a pro for the home setting, is that the amount of time that you're in the session with the client is low in comparison to the school setting or the clinic setting. Next pro for the home setting is how you can structure the session, right? So you have full autonomy on how you structure the session in the home. Yes, there's still a behavior analyst over you, discussing with you how, what skills we're working on, and how the session should be run, and so on and so forth. But for the most part, you have autonomy because you're in the client's domain. You're in their environment. So you, again, adapting to the environment that you're in, adjusting whatever you need to adjust based off of the space that you're in, right? And so you can kind of figure out, like, if you want to go straight into the task analyses when you start the session, or you want to kind of wait because they may be just getting home from school, so they need a little bit of time to relax, or you have full autonomy on how you can structure the session, right? And that's all based off of you adapting to the environment. That's you making adjustments based on the space that you're in. And so I look at that as a pro, because in the school setting, in the clinic setting, there's more structure. And so we have, as the analysts, we may want to structure the session a certain way, just so we're able to hit on all skills in a systematic way, so we can utilize all the time that they have in the clinic. But in the home, again, more relaxed, more natural. And so you, as a technician, based on how you're adapting to the space and based on the adjustments that you're making, you tend to have more autonomy over how the session is structured in the home. Last pro for the home setting is the opportunity to work on the daily living skills and those life skills, right? So yes, we're able to work on them in the clinic setting. We're able to run those task analyses and work on chaining and so on. But being able to work on them in the home setting, where these things are occurring on a daily basis, and those opportunities are abundant, because they have a morning routine, or have an afternoon routine, or they have snack time, or they have all these different things that happen in the home. And so we're able to assist based on those opportunities arising. Yes, we can create those opportunities as well, but for the most part, the opportunities are abundant. And so we're able to take advantage of those opportunities and utilize those chaining skills, or utilize those chaining methods, and implement those task analyses. So that's another pro for the home setting, is having those opportunities to work on life and daily living skills. Some cons for the home setting is reactivity, inconsistent hours, travel time, money for resources, supervision, and family interference. So the first con, reactivity. Again, you're in the home, and so when parents show up, or parents peek into the room, or brother, sister peeks into the room, grandpa, grandma, certain behaviors may occur, right? Or certain behaviors may not occur, right? But you do have to manage that reactivity, right? If those things are happening, make sure you talk to your behavior analyst about what may be occurring and what you're observing, right? Just so they can guide you and they can give you that assistance when it comes to reactivity in the home. So I do look at that as a con, because it's out of your control, right? You're in their home, and so you can't, for the most part, you can't tell the parents, like, hey, don't peek into the room when we're working, right? It's their home, and so they're going to peek in, just to kind of say hello, or whatever may happen, and that stimulus coming into the environment may evoke certain behaviors, right? Or we may not be able to work on certain things because of reactivity, and so just be mindful of that. Going into the home setting is you may have to deal with reactivity. Another con for the home setting are inconsistent hours again. And so this is based on me talking to technicians in person and looking at things online, as we still deal with that inconsistency in the home, right? Life may happen, or appointments may be scheduled incorrectly or something along those lines. And so we have to deal with those cancellations. And so again, that is a con for the home setting, is dealing with those inconsistent hours. Another con for the home setting is travel time. Having to travel from one location to the next location, it can be daunting. It can be a lot. It can be a lot on your vehicle. And so that's more money out of your pocket for maintenance and gas and so on. And make sure that if you are working for a company that predominantly does home sessions, or if they do look for you to work in the home, that they pay for that travel time, right? And you know exactly how much you're going to be paid for that travel time, and before you take on a client, knowing how far you will have to drive from one location to the next, right? And making sure that that's something that you're okay with. But travel time is another con, I would say, for the home setting. Money for resources. So what I mentioned with the clinic setting is with the clinic setting, resources are available. They may not have everything that your client may want, or they may not have your client's most preferred item or activity, but those resources are readily available, and you can be flexible, you can be creative, and so on. In the clinic, in the home, they have their most preferred resources. They have their most preferred activities and items in the home, but you may need to bring in more, right? You may, if we need to work on homework, or we need to work on writing, or so on and so forth, we may have to bring in pencil and paper and so on. And so that's just money out of your pocket to pay for those resources. Unless you have a company that reimburses, or if you have a company that reimburses, then you want to know that before you take on the job. But I look at that as another con for the home setting, is having to pay for resources. Another con for the home setting is supervision. Supervision isn't as consistent as in the clinic, or as in the clinic, because BCBAs are readily available. In the home setting, those BCBAs, for the most part, they're not as readily available, especially if they have other home cases or just other cases in general. So they may not be able to see you they more than likely won't be seeing you on a daily basis, in comparison to the clinic, where you may be able to run into your BCBA on a daily basis, right? And so you're able to pick their brain and talk with them in person. But in the home, supervision may be once a week, possibly maybe twice a week, or maybe bi-weekly. It just depends. So supervision may not be as consistent as you may need in the home setting. So that is definitely something to consider if you're thinking about working in the home setting. Last one is family interference. So again, it goes back to that reactivity. But having siblings may want to join in the session, right? They may see something that you're doing that's extremely fun, and they want to join in, right? But it may interfere with what you may be working on, right? Or mom or dad comes in and they're asking questions, or whatever may happen. It may be interfering with what you're trying to do in that moment. And so if that is something that is occurring, make sure you speak to your behavior analyst about that, so your behavior analyst can address it with the family. But family interference is another thing that I view as a con to working in the home setting. Last setting that we'll talk about today is the school setting. So here on the screen, I do have a definition for what a school setting will entail. And so when you think about the school setting, it can be a mixture of like a structured and a relaxed environment. You have the opportunities for you have the opportunities for social skills. You have the opportunities for discrete trials. You have the opportunities for natural teaching. You have the opportunity to work on TAs, and you have the opportunities to collaborate with other professionals. You have the opportunity to work on behavior reduction, work on training, so on and so forth. Like, the opportunities are abundant in the school setting. And so let's jump into some of the pros for the school setting. First pro for the school setting is skill generalization. So if there's skills that we've been working on in a different setting, now we can work on it in the school setting. Or if there's skills that we've been able to work on specifically in the school setting, maybe one-to-one with our client, now we're able to work on it with other students, or we're able to work on it with their teacher, or with their teacher's aide, or paraprofessional, so on and so forth. So that's a pro for the school setting, is being able to generalize skills. Another pro for the school setting are those consistent hours. So the kids are there every day, same time, start to finish. And so as long as those kids are being dropped off at school, then you have a session to run. And so when I worked in the school settings myself, or I've talked to other technicians about the school setting, it's a consistent thing where you see more consistent hours in those school settings. Another pro for the school setting, access to different therapies and different therapists, right? And so, I really don't have to have like another segment about what my preferred setting is. The school setting is my preferred setting. And so this pro about having access to different therapies and different therapists was something that I really enjoyed about being in the school setting, was being able to talk to occupational therapists, being able to talk to speech therapists, being able to talk to physical therapists, being able to talk to the teachers, picking their brains, just collaborating, so on and so forth. Like, I've met some amazing people from other professions, and being able to discuss like what we do as far as like being a behavior analysis, and then talking about like how they intertwine and how they come together and how we can work together for our client. So that is a huge pro to me, but also other people as well. It's a huge pro to having access to those other therapists and having access to those other therapies to be able to collaborate. So the next pro is the collaboration opportunities. And so if you're able to be in the same space where your kid may be receiving another therapy, then you're able to provide that assistance if behaviors arise, and being able to talk to the other professional and being able to train them on how to respond to certain behaviors. But that's if both professionals are able to build at the same time. If both professionals are not able to build at the same time, then we can't both be working with the client at the same time. Being able to collaborate with the teacher, being able to discuss the strategies that you're using with your client when certain behaviors arise, or discussing group contingencies and so on. Being able to pick their brain, and they can discuss some of their training with you and how they do direct instruction and so on and so forth. Like, the opportunity to collaborate are huge in the school setting, and so that's a huge pro in the school setting are those collaboration opportunities and having access to those other therapists and those other professionals. Another pro for the school setting are the social skills opportunities, going out and having recess, lunchtime, group projects, so on and so forth, being able to provide that assistance where it is needed in those natural learning opportunities. You're able to, again, provide that assistance. But those social skills opportunities, they're abundant. There's so many of them because the kids go to lunch, and so they sit amongst each other. The kids go to recess or PE, whatever it may be. And so if you have a client that you may need to work on initiating play or whatever you may need to work on for your client, the opportunities to work on them are there, right, in the school setting. Another pro for the school setting are the hours that they're at school. And so for the most part, well, specifically here in Florida, school is from like 9 to 2 or 9 to 3 or something like that. Haven't been to school. Another conversation. But the school hours, right? So you're working with your kid throughout the day, and then you kind of have like the rest of the afternoon to do whatever it is that you need to do. And so for me, when I was a technician, I worked predominantly with kids in school, and so I would get off around like 3 p.m. And so from 3 on, I was able to study for the BCBA exam. I was able to do maintenance on my car. I was able to go to doctor's appointments, so on and so forth, as opposed to like in the clinic where you're there all day, right? From open to close for the most part. Or in a home setting where, things are kind of scattered across the day and you're doing a lot of travel. It's kind of hard to do other things as you're traveling around, going to your other sessions. In the clinic, you're stationary in the clinic the entire day. In the school, you're there while the school is open, unless they have like afternoon. If they're receiving after school care, then you kind of adjust based on that. But for the most part, I know for me, when the school day ended, my day pretty much ended. And so again, I was able to do other things when my day ended. Another pro for the school setting is like in the home setting, you have more autonomy. In the clinic setting, it's more structured. So you're kind of basing things off of what your behavior analyst is telling you. In the school setting, you follow the structure of the school, right? So it's not easy to go off and do your own discrete trials in the school setting because all the kids are on the same schedule. All the kids are doing the same thing. They're going from math to reading to art to music and so on and so forth. And so you have your child has, if you're working with a kid, they have to follow that same schedule. And so for you follow that same schedule as well. And so it's less mental work on you to try to figure out like, okay, how are we going to structure the session? How the session is already structured for you. The mental work comes with figuring out what learning opportunities you can take advantage of. So that's another pro for the school setting, is there's less mental work on you to kind of figure out how the session is going to be structured. Now I'll talk about some cons for the school setting. And those cons include opportunities for discrete trials are limited, supervision can be limited, and treatment fidelity. So the first con for the school setting is opportunities for discrete trials are limited. So if you're looking to work one-on-one and work on discrete trials with your client, it's more difficult because we're in the classroom setting where all the other kids are. And so trying to pull your kid to the side to run some discrete trials with them, it's a lot more difficult, right? Because the goal is for them to be paying attention to their teacher and following the instructions and following the group instructions and so on and so forth. So the opportunities for discrete trials are very limited when you're working in a school setting. You have more opportunities for naturalistic teaching than you have for discrete trials. Next con for the school setting is supervision can be limited. So same as like the home setting where you may be seeing your BCBA once or twice a week, right? If that's not the case for you and you're someone that works in the school setting, definitely leave it down in the comments below just so we can create dialogue about that, and someone that may be considering the school setting will know that, hey, here in my state or here at my company, I see my BCBA daily basis, 2 times a week, 3 times a week. But in my experience and with the technicians that I've spoken to and some of the stuff that I've seen online, is supervision can be limited in that school setting where you may see your behavior analyst once a week, or if you may see your behavior analyst once a week. Last con for the school setting is treatment fidelity. And so you may be running the programs or implementing the strategies as written by your behavior analyst, but when it's time for the teacher to do it, or it's time for another therapist to do it, it may look different. That's not to say it only happens in a school setting, but it's mostly for the other professionals that you're working with. They may not, they may need more training, right? And so if we see things like that, then let's make sure that we're talking to our behavior analysts so we can provide that training just to make sure that all the strategies that we're looking to implement when we're seeing certain behaviors or how we're going about reinforcing certain skills and so on and so forth, we want to make sure that it's all the same across the board, just so the learner is receiving that consistent reinforcement for doing the things that it's going to benefit them. So making sure that everyone is receiving that same training. And if you're seeing like, okay, someone may be drifting to the left a little bit and kind of doing their own thing, talking to your behavior analyst just so we can get those things addressed and make sure that everyone is on the same page. So those are the cons for the school setting. And so that is pretty much everything that I have in regards to the home setting pros and cons, the clinic setting pros and cons, school setting pros and cons. I talked a little bit about what my preferred setting is, and that is the school setting. I enjoyed all the clients that I work with in the school setting. I was able to collaborate with a lot of different therapists, and that is why the school setting is my preferred setting. As a behavior analyst, I will say now my preferred setting is the home setting, right? And if you guys want me to talk more about that in a different video, I definitely can. But as a technician, my preferred setting was the school setting. As a behavior analyst now, it is the home setting. So if you guys enjoyed this video, definitely leave me a thumbs up. Definitely leave me some comments down below. Let me know what you thought about the video. If there's any questions that you may have, we can talk about it in the comment section. And so yeah, till next time, I'm out. Peace.